Alright, today we're going to reassemble the power director clutch in this 190. Got all my parts cleaned up and laid out. Got new parts here, new plates and clutch discs and rings. There's the old pile of rings and discs. There's some other parts that's cleaned up in the rear housing. We'll get that all assembled and put together, and I'll show you the step by step. One of the first things we're going to do here is go ahead and replace the seal ring right here. And basically this is what it looks like. It's got a little notch right there that will lock it into place. So we'll get this one out. There, we got it. Somehow I got down underneath it. So I need to clean this groove out. Here's the new ring. Like I said, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's a little notch right there. It locks it in place. So get that thing slid in here carefully. And then the service manual said push around from the sides until that thing clips into place. So got that one done. Got one more here to do. There's that. Where they connect. So I'm just going to work on it like I did that last one. Maybe it'll break and come out of there. There it is. That will come out much easier. So there it is. Just broke off the little piece right there that latches them. Get rid of that. I have to clean this one up as well. I already did the surfaces on all these parts here, so this one looks really good. I'll still run this shop towel down through here. We'll get our next ring slid in there. So this one may be a little bit easier because I can lay it down on the bench. The other one was kind of up off the bench, so we'll keep that down all the way like that. I'm just going to clip this one up over and in. And there it is. It's a done deal. Alright, so got those two rings in there. So this is the front of the housing right here, and according to the service manual, that's where we're going to start the assembly first. And each of the housings, the front and the rear, which is here. Here's the rear. It's got the piece on it here that goes over the shaft. It's going to the input shaft on the transmission. These O-rings right here, make sure that when we reassemble this that we line these up. We can't have one here and one here because then obviously the oil will not pass through. So I'm going to renew this O-ring first. And make sure I clean out this little surface right here. Make sure we don't have anything in that. Alright, looks pretty good. The new O-rings look just a little bit larger, but evidently once they get in there and smash down, they'll be fine. So there's two of them that will mate up. So what it looks like is I'm going to have to wait until I get these two housings, getting ready to slide them together, because that O-ring doesn't want to fit. That's just barely down in there. So set those off to the side. Just don't forget it. So we got two of these plates, right? This one's going to be up here on the top edge once we get all the clutch discs together. right, and it's going to be sitting down in the clutch housing. So I got to figure out which one actually goes into the front housing. Is it this one that's mated up on the bottom piece, or is it this one that doesn't have this piece in there? So got to find that out real quick in the manual. But basically, when we put this thing together, we're going to have a high and a low side clutch, and once we put in either or, this will be our center plate, and then we're going to load it up with alternating between the clutch discs and the plates, like so, and those will fit down in there, and when they're going in the housing, these will actually be sticking out the side like that. So we'll do that all the way through, and I think we've got a total of 7 of the plates and 9 of the clutch discs. And then once we've got that together, we'll bolt it up, and then you'll be done. So let me find out which plate starts in the housing here. I'll be right back. Alright, before we put in this actuating piston, is what it's called, so the oil flows down underneath it, down in this port that you can see right here, and pushes hydraulic fluid and raises this up. There's also another one of these seal rings on the inside of this housing, which is not very easy to get out, but I was able to get it. Broke loose here, so I'm just going to take it out, and we're going to put a new one in here. So there that is. I had to break the little end off of it for it to come out. Now this one I can't see down in there to make sure it's all free and clear, but that thing was sealed up so tight right there. I think we're probably pretty good, but I'm still going to run this shop rag down in here, and got one of these little picks. It's got a 90 on the end of it. It should pull me through pretty easy. Make sure we get all the gunk out of there, if there is any. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Go ahead and slide in. Right here's the new one. Got one on each housing. So you got one here, and then you got one that's basically, when this is assembled, it's going to be riding on the inside. One on the inside, one on the outside. Slide this thing in there. Have to do it just like we did the other one, except you can't really see it. Shove that one side in all the way. Now I'm just going to run around the outer side here, take up the slack, and it should just clip in. There it went. Alright, good deal. So I got that dude in there. Great. Alright, so on the front housing, which is the one that we've got right here, I think I'm going to put just a little bit of this Lucas assembly lube on here, just to make this thing slide in here a little easier. It don't take much. Take this actuating piston, I'm just going to slip it right down in here. Like so. So basically what that's going to do is push up when hydraulic oil is passed down into the backside there. Alright, so we've got that squared away. Next piece that goes in is the thrust washer. Like so. And we're going to put the front hub. So here's the two hubs. And if you note, we got a large diameter spline and a smaller, and they do separate like so. We're going to put the front one, which is the larger one, in place. Just going to set it. It's just going to set in there for right now. And the grooves, you know, where I separate that, we want that up because this will slide in there in a minute. I think they could probably all stay together because everything else is just going around it. But I'm just going by the exploded diagram here. So then next we're going to start with a it's called a backup plate. So that's going to be our solid, our heavy plate, right? So we can kind of look at this, and that's where that thrust, or that piston rather, come up against it. So we'll put it in here, and I need to see. Yeah, it'll only go in certain grooves in here, so not that one. Actually, that's quite interesting. It won't fit in any of them, so this is the wrong one. Alright, so I'm trying to figure out here what the deal is. I'm not seeing this plate, this backup plate they're talking about. All of my old parts are the driven plates. It doesn't say driven plate in the manual here. Just gonna double check these and make sure that they're all the same size. Make sure I'm not missing something here. Alright, I got the rear housing of the power director, and we're going to start assembling this. So inside here is a sealing ring I'm going to replace. That one was broken. Get rid of that. I'll go ahead and just run this rag down in that groove. Shut that floor fan off so you can hear. Slide the new ring in. I've already replaced this ring earlier, and I'm just going to coat it up with a little bit of Lucas assembly lube. I'll do both pieces. It doesn't mention anything about this in the service manual. I'm just doing it to make sure everything slides together good. It can't hurt it. This is all in oil anyway when it's assembled, so it's just going to help it slide in here. Alright, so if you notice, there's two notches in the housing. Obviously this one is too small for the piston to fit in, so it'll go on the other side. The other notches that we're looking at, the smaller ones, are actually for the driven plates. So we'll get this kind of pushed in here. Remember that sealing ring in there was just a little bit bigger, and it's probably gonna keep me from pushing this in, so I'm going to push it to one side, and then we'll just hopefully get it to kind of slide in here. There's no way to get into that to push it. You get a mallet here, and we'll just tap around on this thing, see if we can get it to go. There we go. So basically the the sealing ring that's right inside this groove on the main housing was just a little bit wider when it was assembled, and it's got room to tighten up once this piston's installed, so it was preventing the piston from sliding down. So I pushed it all to one side where most of it was sticking out here, and then just tapped here, and then it just kind of worked it in and tightened it up. So we got that in place now. Now we got a thrust washer that goes in the center like so, and then we're going to have the driving gear, and there's two, one for the high and one for the low side. Here's the what would be the low side. We're working on the high side clutch, and you can see this larger diameter spline goes into the input shaft. I'm not sure if that's the actual term, but the shaft that's coming off of the actual transmission straight out and into the clutch. So this goes on the other side. So according to the manual, we're going to start out with a clutch disc, and then we're going to do a driving plate. So there's 1 and 1. Clutch disc, driving plate, and then a clutch disc, and our plate. So we've got, looks like 3 of each, and I think there's 5 on this, or 4 on this side. So let me check the manual here, and just to make sure. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 clutch discs. By the way, these new ones are much better designed than the old. So the whole failure on the old side is this notch, which was used to get oil into the plate to lube it up, and as it got hot and stressed over time, and they would crack. And I'm trying to find one of my old ones here. Yeah, this is a good one here. It would crack like that right there, and then eventually they would just break apart, and then you end up with a bunch of little pieces inside your power director. So the new design, if you note the cross hatching in here, that allows oil to go out through, which is going to put it into each of these holes, which is going to help lube up your plate. The originals just had a circle all the way around. There was no way really for oil to, you know, penetrate around the disc and in there. So much better design. So that's the new ones. Now I need to figure out how many of these plates that we get and clutch discs that we get on this side. I'm thinking the low side clutch, which is the part facing forward, if it's assembled on the tractor, gets 5, and I've got 4 or 5 of them left over here. So I just need to figure out 100% where we're at, and just looking at it, it feels like we would go up one more to be flush right here. But let me find out on the manual, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I checked on the manual, and again, we're working on the high side of the clutch pack. The high side faces the rear of the tractor. The low side obviously is to the front. The low side in the book is what they're showing to assemble first, and it says to assemble it with 4 driven plates, and the driven plate is this metal plate. 4 of those, and 5 driving plate assemblies, which what I call the clutch plate, this right here. So over here on the other side of the bench, this is the low side. I've went ahead and assembled that. There's my 4 driven plates, and then my driving plate assembly here of 5. And so I got 5 clutch plates, if you will, on the low side, and 4 on the high side. So I've got those assembled. on the high side here. So the next step is, I'm not sure what you call it, so I'm going to check my manual out and see here what you call it. It's called the center plate, for obvious reasons, is here. One thing to note, there's an oil passageway right here, and here's the oil passageway. So as the oil comes in, it's going to come through here and it's going to push up on that piston at the bottom and put pressure on those plates as they're spinning. So it's kind of obvious. If we try to put it this way, it won't fit. So if we just rotate it around here, keeping our oil passageway open up, then it'll fit over here. But the one thing you got to do first is replace this O-ring. There's an O-ring between the front and the rear housing. They're going to be on either side of this plate. Alright, looks pretty good. Now the new O-rings from AGCO are a little bit bigger, but it is the part number according to the book. So I'm going to have to kind of watch this when I start putting this thing together. So I've got it on there right now. I'll set my plate down, then I want to look underneath that to make sure that it didn't pop up. So I'll just kind of clean some of the oil and junk off of the edge. So again, here's the center plate. It's going to go like so. There's my oil passage. I see just a little bit of junk in there, so I'm going to clean that out. Last thing I want is to have debris going into my brand new clutch. Alright, so we'll slide that over. So I'll be real careful on my O-ring because I don't want to disturb it enough where it wants to pop out of there. And just looking down in there, I can see it. I'm going to squeeze this together and look. Yeah, I'd say we're probably still fine. But before I torque this all up, we'll make sure that it's in place. Now here's the other one. Basically it's going to sit on the other housing right here like that as this squeezes together and keeps that sealed up. Alright, so we've done the high side clutch, and we're going to flip over and do the low side clutch. We're going to build it out this direction. I don't know, there's a couple different ways. I've already assembled it on the other side here. Seems like you could just turn this half over because this will hold it and just slide it together and be done. In fact, I think that's what the manual's telling us to do. But just so we can see how it all goes together, I'm going to just reverse it up here, and then I've actually got one plate that I didn't get. This one right here, it's going to be on the very bottom of this next bunch of clutch discs and plates like so, and then there'll be O-rings here, so the other clutches will be in the middle. But the problem is these are too wide to fit in my housing. So there's two new after a certain serial number that I'm seeing in the manual here of these plates. So I'm going to have to get with my parts guy and see what the ordeal is with this. This is just too wide. It needs to be about an 1/8 inch narrower, and it would fit right up. So we'll figure that out later on, but for right now we'll go ahead and just flip this over and put the high side together. So here's the high side gear, and there's a groove right here. It's probably hard to see on the camera, but there's a groove and it slides in this groove so that they can't miss a line. It'll be sliding here like this. So we put that like so. Now we've already got our plate. Just like if we look down on the inside, we're going to start out with the clutch disc, which is what we'll do now. So there's our disc and then our driving plate. And again, these would line up if I had my housing set in here. So where's the other one? So the other ones are about right there, and I can kind of see on this plate where they were. So we'll just kind of lay them in there like that. So then we go with another clutch disc, and then the plate, and the disc, and the plate, and another disc, plate, and then one more disc, and then we'll have our last plate, which is what I was mentioning right here. This one will not fit. Yeah, you can see the housing, so it won't fit anywhere in here, right? And it's got to be down on the bottom to hold all this together. So this plate's going to have to be renewed. There's just no place for it to fit. These are much narrower, and they fit the plates, and then these, as you can see, actually it's a little more than 1/8, maybe 3/16 out for this to go. So I'm going to find out what the deal is with that. I guess worst case, the guy could shave either side of these off a little bit to make it work, but this one, if you can see, that end is bent just a little bit right there, so probably needs to be renewed anyway. So I'll have to get my measurement, know what my housing is, and then they should be able to tell me what I need. So basically, once that's in place, again, we'll have the oil passageway, which will be coming through here. That's where my O-ring will set, and then this will just slide over top down onto that, and then we'll bolt everything together with these 6 bolts. So yeah, it's not real hard to put these together. If you have a service manual, I would recommend it. It's just, there's a few little pointers in there that's helpful if you've never done one before. On the side here, I didn't mention, but we got a washer and then a spring, like so. And then once we get this renewed, this will compress down. So when this is sticking out, you'll have to compress each side like this to allow you to get your snap ring in there to secure it. So anyway, that's a power director assembly on a 190XT. There's a lot of models, consecutive models, that are pretty much the same on these power directors. So anyway, once I figure out my other plate issue, we'll get that thing on order, and then we'll finalize the assembly on this, and then it'll be ready to reinstall on the tractor. So again, my clutch plates, as you can see, were just disintegrated. I had warped plates, disintegrated clutch discs, if you will, and all of the ones you see that are broken were on the high side of the clutch. So the high side wouldn't move, low side was good, high side wouldn't move, and that's why. So several hours worth of labor to get to the power director to get it out of there, to get it fixed up, and this thing will be as good as new once we'll get our other parts and get this thing back together. To get a new plate, this plate comes off of the piston over here. The old one was different size, so you can see this one's about 3/4 and the other one's probably, I don't know, 7/8 or so. But the problem was it wouldn't slide down in my assembly, so I had to renew one end of this power director, because it was it got eat up with the discs when they disintegrated. So we've got that piece. That piece is what holds the plates together. So once this housing's on, we'll squeeze this up, and then we'll put a snap ring on there, and we'll be done. But anyway, I put this bolt in here just temporarily to squeeze everything together, because on this other side right here, there's an O-ring. This is the other O-ring that's going to come down on top of this. Make sure you get those lined up. So I'm going to pull this thing off. So I got to be real careful on these O-rings, make sure that they stay in place. Alright, we'll try to get it out of there. Flip it over. Where is it? There it is. Straight down. And right at the end, I was getting ready to make it, I heard that thrust washer come off. I mean, I'm down. Okay, so it went down, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't guess it could have went all the way down if that thing had not been lined up. Let's see here. Alright, so it's good. I can see it in there. Alrighty, so I've got that. Go ahead and put my 6 bolts around the edge here. I'm going to go ahead and grab another set of gloves. And I'm going to double check to make sure there's not any kind of washers on this. I don't see any from when I took it apart. Alright, so yeah, there's not a washer or anything on either side. So let's go ahead and get these put on. Alright, so we got those all in place. We got our oil seal, 2 O-rings, one on the bottom, one on the top, put together. All that's good. Now we just got to crimp down our plates right here on either end and get the snap ring installed. So I replaced the snap rings because the old ones, when they came out, they got a little bent. So I got new snap rings right here that we'll be putting in. So let me go grab a clamp here and we'll get that thing tightened down and installed. Alright, so I'm just going to compress these two together. And then you can see right there's where that snap ring goes. I'll lay it in place. I'll come on the other side with my needle nose and latch it in and let off. That's it. Not much to it. So there it is. Alright, spin this thing around and do the next one. Got 3 more seals that I got to replace, and this is on the drive side. So these seals right here, there's 3 rings. Here's my new ones. And there's one of the old ones. Can't really tell, but it's been broken right here. So that the new ones have a little notch. I don't know if you can see that, but that's how they lock together. And they're been wore down pretty bad on the edge. So get rid of those. Put these new ones on. So like I said, those have to come together and lock like this in there. So it's kind of hard to do it, but you just hold it tucked in one side and you just work around and it'll come up over the groove and then it locks right in place. It's that simple. When you look at it, it's like, how in the world am I going to get this to fit? But they will. So hold one side in, push it around, and it'll go on the outside of it, and then you just lock it in. Do the last one. Got to go all the way down to the bottom. Alright, it's in the bottom groove. Same thing, push it around and come out and lock into it. So there's the new rings, seals. You can see those all in there. Alright, now this is ready to be placed onto the shaft. So let me get set up on that, and then we'll finish this thing up and go ahead and get it installed on the tractor. Please hit like and subscribe and leave a comment below. And make sure you turn on your notification bell so that each time a new video is posted, you'll be notified.